Outer Orange.
Hello and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be discussing Kyrie. Well, just gotta give you guys a disclaimer right now. I have not been playing grade 4 Kyrie nearly as much as I played grade 3 Kyrie, and mainly because there's just a lot of decks that I'm really engrossed in right now. And as much as I love Kyrie, I think the decks I'm currently playing still have like a little bit more of like a higher power level, at least for me. So personally, I've been kind of on a Stoichia grind. I haven't been enjoying Lyrical as much. However, I've still been testing and practicing this deck, so I thought I'd share with you guys kind of my way, how I built this deck. It's very different from most other decks that are out there currently, so you'll kind of see a different kind of thought process behind it. Let's go ahead and start about deck boxes and our ride line sleeves and stuff like that. So deck box, I'm using the Ballista deck box. Originally I had the gem Kyrie in here. I was like, oh, it's Ballista. No, it's actually gems, but it's Kyrie. And so I use this and I just haven't changed it since then. So this is the overdress box. If you're interested in these, they're amazing. They're huge, very spacious, and very wonderful. For the ride deck sleeves, I'm currently using Aqua, but this is the original G Aqua. Very, very beautiful card, very adorable. Love the art for this one, so that's what I have for that. And then I'm using reindeer sleeves for the actual deck, so that's pretty much that. Start with the ride line. So for starter, I'm running Mion. This is the Estes Mion. I honestly like the cat girl that came out in this lyrical set 2 a little bit more, and actually I have the SP of it. I've been tempted to change it out just because I like it more, but I'm rolling with this because Mion just kind of completes the ride line just a little bit better, so I'm running that. Next, for the one, we are running the Estes Nanami. She has 2 scales on Vanguard. When placed, you can take a grade 1 from your drop zone and call it as rest. This is insanely important, as pretty much what this card does is she lets you discard a grade 1 and then instantly call it. Any on-place abilities that activate off the grade 1 will activate, and this is very crucial and important. She does have a secondary skill, and specifically this deck we actually will be using a secondary skill, but just on play she instantly gets 2k, so anytime she's played she gets 2k. A very good booster, makes her a 10k booster all the time. It makes everything that's like a 13 to 23k and all that yada yada stuff, but we'll get into her in a little bit. So I also have the grade 2. This is Estes Nanami grade 2, another great card. Both Vanguard and Vigor skills are both really good. Her Vigor skill is she attacks, you pretty much can bounce any card back to her hand. Could be anything back to your hand. It could be literally anything. You can bounce OT, can bounce BG, can bounce normal units, whatever in the world you're in the mood for that isn't in order, you can bounce it. So she bounces that. She has a secondary skill, says when she's boosted she gets additional 5k, so she's constantly at 15k beater. Some would argue there's better cards out there. I actually do also run this in my main deck. We'll kind of get into it here in a little bit, but I actually really like this skill. I think there's no reason not to boost. Last but not least, we run the grade 3 Kyrie. She has a couple skills. Honestly, this sadly her grade 3 turn isn't as good now as it used to be. It was already kind of rough, but you know, it's kind of persona locks and all that stuff. But anyway, says she has a couple skills. At the end of the battle, during the battle that she attacks, Soul Boss 1, choose 2 of your rear guards, return to hand. Very amazing, so you get to just pretty much bounce any cards that you want to hand, and does not indicate what to, so she's not restricted. You can bounce whatever you want as well with her. And then she has another skill. At the end of the battle, she attacked. If you persona roll this turn, you can choose 2 cards from your hand and call them to separate rear guard circles, pretty much to separate rear guard columns, or rows I should say. So you can call like this, you can call like this. You just can't call like this, so you can't bounce and call like this. I make this note a lot because I know it's kind of a weird wording. So in this deck particularly, we will not be using the persona ride skill. You could just throw it out the window. It doesn't matter. It's one of the best decks to take when it comes to early aggressions. I would say this deck has one of the best early games aside from Orphist, and actually one of the not so great late games. So early game is really good, late game is not so much. That's kind of where this deck falls, and just kind of like the unfortunate part about it right now, and that's kind of where I have trouble with playing this deck because it really feels lackluster after turn 3, or pretty much after turn 2. Sorry, getting distracted. Also, before I begin officially talking about the deck stuff like that, I want to thank Curly Haired Hero. He's actually the reason why I decided to do this profile. I was watching his video and I kind of got inspired. Like I literally got inspired. I was like, man, he's talking about Kyrie a lot. I want to talk about Kyrie too. So thank you, Curly Haired Hero, for that. Grade 4s. So of course we want to run Kyrie. This is the grade 4 Kyrie. All your rear guards placed this turn get 5k. So it doesn't matter how you place them, from where, from what, or just in any existence, from drop zone. Anywhere you place them, they get 5k. It's pretty good. Like, you know, it kind of helps that whole not having persona type of thing, and it's doable. When this unit attacks, if your soul has a Kyrie's card in its soul, so it could be one of these, it could be one of these, whatever, anything works. You can choose 2 cards from your hand and call them to rear. It is mandatory. You have to do it, so you have to call 2 cards every single turn, or do as much as you can, pretty much. So it kind of has this ups and downs. Like, you know, you get to bounce, you get to call, but you know, you have to. The fact that you have to call is a pretty rough. There's no maybe here. It's not like you could choose up to or anything like that. You just have to do it. So you are constantly calling cards, which can be an if maybe good situation for you depending on how you are cycling through your stuff. I think in the future this card will just get better with better cards coming out. I think right now it's kind of like in a middle situation where it's not awful, but it's not the best thing in the world. But it lets you your on places will activate, and then the good part about it is when you swing, you have a triple drive coming and all that stuff. So you know you can put that on your triggers, on your rear guards and stuff like that. So you know you can split your power. So that's pretty fun. But anyway, let's go on to the grade 3s, there isn't too many of them. It's just Kinky. This is this is Bashful Striver Kinky. This card is pretty much SD support, and her skill says when placed on rear, you can choose a grade 2 from a grade 2 or less normal unit with SDs in its card name. From your drop zone, put it to soul, and then if you put a card to soul counterpart, she gets 10k. So she's really good for that 10k. In exchange for this slot, you can run Calfee, which is a on place that get 10k. You can do that. I prefer running this because one, it's a 13k base, and two, it lets you cycle your SDs in your soul, which is really good for your grade 2s or less. Just constantly will keep coming back. Like say you face a prison matchup and they keep soul blasting your stuff, it'll at least help you get the 2s and 1s back into your soul to then recall them out with another card later. So she's not terrible. Also 10k is really nice. She's a constant 28k beater every time she's placed, and you don't use Counterblast too heavily in this deck, so you can actually kind of spam this and not to worry about it too much. Next we run grade 2s. I actually only have 3 grade 2s. I know it's crazy. I used to run this card, and actually I took it out because I'm experimenting with something right now, but you could run this card with exchange of something else. You can also run Melty as well in exchange of something else. I have just a lot of grade 1s for reasons I'll explain in a little bit, but because it has a lot of grade 1s, I took out these for them. You can easily run these cards, but you know, you don't have to listen to me. You know, you can run what you want to run. This is just like, you know, how I'm currently testing. So why am I running Nanami? So one thing, she makes magic numbers when she's playing. Like, so she becomes a 20k beater, and then she's always gonna have a booster behind her, so she'll always be pretty much a 28k beater. And with the booster, if the booster has any other numbers, it can go from 28 to 33 and all that stuff. And I just think the fact that she just consistently gets you numbers is just really good. The skill sounds like, oh, it has to be boosted. It sounds kind of awful, but you'll be boosting most of the time. And this card with Lapume, which is a card we'll be talking about in the future, kind of fulfill the roles pretty easily to where you'll usually always have a booster with her active. And because I run a ton of grade 1s, like honestly, you should always have a booster. You should have no problems having a booster in this deck specifically. Let's talk about the grade 1s, because that's kind of where the spice kind of kicks in, and kind of where the differences come. Well, the differences already start here, but we'll see more differences as we kind of go through, because like you see this is how many grade 1s we have. We have a lot of grade 1s. So we're gonna go ahead and start with Lapume. So Lapume is pretty much the other condition that meets with Kinky right here. So pretty much her skill says when she's placed on rearguard circle, if you have a Vanguard with SDs in a card name, choose a card grade 2 or less card with SDs in its name from your soul and call it to the board to an open rearguard circle. So pretty much you can call something from a soul to an open rearguard circle. If it's during battle, you call it as rest. If it's during battle, you call it a stand. So pretty much what happens is early on, like with coordinations with Nanami's Vanguard skill, you can call out your starter and then bounce the starter if you want, or later on during battle phase, you can, you know, you're gonna bounce everything and then you can call her out, and then you can, like when you bounce everything, you can actually do something like this. So you can call this like this and this. You can call these two out off of Kyrie's skill, and then for her skill, you can call this from soul like that, and boom, you just reset like everything. This skill activate, you can put something back into soul, and then this will just activate on its own and kind of do its thing. So it's just kind of one of the very many things you can do. Mainly is just, you know, to call out these, and you can do it in different orders. You can choose to not boost one side and call her out to that boosted side, and then, you know, expand the other side with another one. You know, you have a lot of options. But yeah, that's the main thing of her. That's pretty much what she does. I guess that early on you can use her too. If your soul stacked with these, you can just get them out, free cards to the board, all that kind of stuff. And you can also empty your soul in the same way. If you're facing prison, you don't want them touching your soul, you can empty them out, and all they'll be able to target is this. Which, by the way, you gotta be very careful with this because you don't want to lose that, so you have to constantly see these. Next, with the grade 1s, those are my triggers. Next, with the grade 1s, we run for Eileen. Eileen's just a really good card. I know she's kind of expensive. Like I said, you can substitute her for, you know, Melty. Like, you can substitute her for other stuff. Melty's kind of pricey too. You can substitute for this. There are some substitutions. I wouldn't stress too hard about getting this card, but she is a very good generic card. I feel like this card will constantly show importance, not just in this deck, but just in a lot of lyrical decks, just because her skill is just so good. It says when this unit boosts a rearguard circle, like a top card of your deck, put it top or bottom, so you can constantly keep stacking your top with triggers, or do the opposite, you can go through your deck a little faster to see your grade 4s, for example, or any other pieces that you need. So this is just an overall just a really good card. I don't see a reason not to have this at 4. It's it's one of the best cards that got printed in Lyrical Set 2 specifically as a card to be used generically. Next, we run Perfect Guards. For 4 Perfect Guards, you need Perfect Guards. I'm gonna put Perfect Guards over here. We don't really need to look at them right now. Run 2 of the Caitlins. Now, this is kind of where my deck gets a little bit more interesting. Nobody really runs Caitlyn. kind of surprised people don't run Caitlyn. So the downside of Caitlyn is the fact that she doesn't plus you, but the upside to Caitlyn is literally everything else. Let me just read her to you. She's a very simple skill. It says, when placed on rear counterblast, discard 2 cards, draw 2 cards. Now you might be asking yourself, well, OuterOrange, that seems kind of meh. This is extremely important. You want to see your grade 4s as soon as possible. This is probably the fastest drawer in your deck. Melty draws you 1 card. Testarossa, whatever this girl's name, draws you pretty much 1 card. And yeah, you could spam them, but you can also just spam these. You can call 2 of these out, discard 2, draw 2. It kind of sucks because you're not plussing, but what the bright side is that you'll see what you need faster. And if you do see what you need faster, you can just end the game faster. If I will be straight with you right now, if you miss your grade 4, you will literally lose the game. There is nothing, absolutely nothing that the grade 3 will do for you that will actually save you. Theoretically speaking, she can keep you getting numbers and keep bouncing units, but you'll eventually run out of soul. And the other thing is being stuck on this, it literally kills you. Like, you will just die. You will literally just die on this. Whereas if you're on grade 4, you essentially are closer to winning the game. And one of the ways to do that is to draw through your deck as fast as possible. Caitlyn is one of the best ways to draw. This is my experimental card. This is what this used to be in here instead. And the more I read this card, the more I love it. I actually purposely picked up the SPs for this card, not because of this deck, but actually picked them up for premium as well. I just think the fact that discard 2 to draw 2 is just really nice. It sucks they have to discard first, but honestly, I think this card is so much better than people are just aware of. I know I'm going on a whole rant about this card. It's just like, this is one of those cards that like no one's talking about, and I just think this card's just really good. I think this card can show promise in like other decks too. She's really generic. It's a very easy thing. You just counterblast, discard, draw 2. It's just very simple, but yet drawing 2 is just super important, especially in overdress, especially when you need to see pieces, and just one of the best things to do. You can also discard your SD's cards and then use her to put them back into soul, so you're really not like losing out on stuff, because then you will just recall them out through soul. So it's just something to keep in mind. So 3 of the Kadia. Kadia is just a really good early rush approach. It says as long as your Vanguard is to STs, doesn't say specifically Kyrie, she gets 10k every time she's placed. She's a 15k beater at all times. She's a 20k booster on Kyrie, so you can put her behind Kyrie, give yourself a 20k boost on top of Kyrie, and Kyrie will become literally instantly a 33k attacker, which is just really good. She can also early rush you. Again, you can use non-enemy skill to then call her out. She's a 15k booster or attacker. You can instantly start smacking face with her and doing all this stuff. So essentially this card's just really nice for that. Last but not least, I run 3 non-enemies. So again, like another weird one. Say some people are gonna be like, why well, non-enemy? Well, she's constantly, when she's played, she's a 10k beater. So she's just a constant 10k beater. Behind everything, she just makes the numbers just better. Behind this, behind that, it just makes good numbers. It's just another booster. Again, theoretically, you can probably exchange this out. I've honestly been thinking about moving out this for like stuff like this again, so I can have grade 2s again. I'm not really too sure yet, but this would be actually I'd move this before I touch this, but that's just me. You can early rush with all these grade 1s back here, which is really important, by the way. Early rushing is very important. You want to rush your opponent so fast that they can't keep up, because if you don't, then what happens is that they'll just win the game before you get the chance to even do your stuff. I've seen so many Kyrie players, because I face actually quite a lot of Kyrie players, but so many Kyrie players don't even see their grade 4 turn. I would just kill them before then, and it's very unfortunate, but it does happen. I just think that having access to all these grade 1s will help increase your rush. And then for our triggers, we of course run over trigger. I run 4 draws, and then I run 4, 5, 6, 7 crits, and then we run the heals. I have thought about running more draws, just to help out with the deck a little bit with draws. I don't disagree with running more draws. I'm kind of like iffy about it right now, but right now I'm keeping it at 4 because I think crits are important. Just another thing to keep in mind, so another reason why I run Caitlyn. So normally you would have to run more draws because you need to see your grade 4s. Well, Caitlyn kind of replenishes that problem pretty quickly. So what you can do is you can just run Caitlyn instead and just run more crits to worry about your draws, because the only reason you're running draws is for very obvious reasons. You're trying to get to your grade 4, right? Well, if you can cut back on that and run crit triggers and just smack your opponent with crits all the time, I think that's the overall better solution. But everything gains numbers in some way, shape, or form, because we just want to kill, right? We just want to end the opponent's life, and we just want them to die before we even care about what they have in mind, before they try to kill us and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much the entire deck. Have fun, try it out. Like I said, I'm not sitting here testing Kyrie 24/7. I'm on the Storkea boats. I'm mainly testing Storkea right now, but I thought I'd show you guys where my brainstorming has went and kind of where I took this whole deck, because I have yet to see anyone build Kyrie like this. Everyone builds either the Friends version or the Blackwing version, but no one's really tried a generic pure version. As far as I know, there aren't that many out there. Also some substitutions. Like I said, you can run this card. There's also the grade 2 that lets you get 10k shield if you have Kyrie in hand, so you can reveal Kyrie, get 10k shield. Very good card as well. I'm weirder about it because I don't like relying on stuff in my hand. I'd rather just be able to, it's good guard. She becomes like, I think like a 15k guard. I'm not really big into the Friends engine, though I do think the numbers get pretty good later on. I'm not really a fan of it early game. I also don't really care for a card that only has like a half skill on it. Like you're only using her for the draw, and that's just really it. And I'm just not really a fan of that, though it is nice. But I would rather just run like something like this. But that's just me personally. Everyone's got their taste, and don't get me wrong, I think the Friends list is fine too. I think it's doing really well. Obviously, it's been showing results, so don't get mad at me. Also, if you're playing Kyrie and all that stuff, please let me know in the description below what you're playing and what you're doing and what kind of stuff you're building and having fun with. I love Kyrie. As you can tell, it's almost full max rarity. It was max rarity, and then, you know, we got some new stuff, so it's not fully max rarity now. But yeah, guys, I'm gonna peace out. I'm gonna say my das vidanya. So bye, thank you, and yeah, stay tuned. Yeah, bye. Mwah, thank you for everything. I'll see you guys. Bye.